I never packed a huge pack with my own tent. Sorry. I had overpacked a huge pack with my own tent, thermarest mattress, sleeping bag, kitchen kit, machete, etc. About 20 minutes into the hike, we went from a trail, it wasn't marked, but my friends said they knew where it was going, to a scramble/climb up the edge of the trees on a near vertical rock face. I was struggling to keep upright and not fall backwards from my giant pack. Grabbing onto any roots or rocks I could find was the only way I made it. We were supposed to be meeting up with a couple of friends who had come up earlier that morning. Finally got to where we were going to camp, and as the afternoon light was turning amber, we came around the arc, up the tree line to a tiny flat space at the top of the near vertical wall we had been climbing next to. The view was absolutely beautiful, the fingers of the Cascades going down the bend in a river as it headed towards sunset was breathtaking. Only one of the two friends was up there, and we arrived. The other hadn't felt like coming, and he said, "Man, I'm glad you guys made it. I was worried I was going to have to stay up here by myself tonight." We laughed and started to unpack, and I said, "Where am I supposed to put my tent?" There was one tent set up already and only room for one other. I had carried all that up for nothing. Anyway, after kicking myself for that, we started a small fire and sat with our feet dangling over the face, with the tops of the Douglas firs about 80 feet below. Wow, that must have been a wicked view, man. The sun had set, and our west facing camp with thick trees about 10 feet behind us was a crazy glow from the fire. The guy who had been there first had a CD player and portable speakers and was playing music over it while we cooked. I brought up a bottle of whiskey with me in my giant pack and asked if anyone liked some. The guy raised his hand immediately and said, "Right here, I'll take some." I wasn't aware of it, but he never drank. Uh-oh, I want to be drunk on the edge of a cliff. I found myself later on. We were all laughing and talking while we were eating dinner. I was sitting on the rock with the fire just to my right. The tree line was about 20 feet further right and arced incredibly quickly, following the sheer face we had our feet dangling over. Arched incredibly quickly. I really don't know how to describe it, but the closest I can is a rumble, so low in tone but so loud in volume that I thought it was an earthquake erupted from the tree line just outside the firelight. I literally felt the rock shaking beneath my butt. I've heard a lot of sounds and absolutely nothing is close. It is almost infrasound, like an elephant can make. Anyway, all attention was on that spot, and we jumped up and waved our arms and screamed and banged on pots and pans, trying to alert this thing that people are here and to go away, like you would with a bear. I grabbed the Surefire flashlight and my machete, no firearms on this trip sadly, and walked towards the spot where the sound seemed to come from. Nothing. Scoured the whole area for about 5 minutes and nothing. Now I was in no way thinking about Sasquatch this time. The guy that never drank started hitting the bottle really hard. One of my other friends said he should take it easy, but he said he had to calm his nerves. He said, "When I was waiting for you guys to get up here, I kept feeling like I was being watched." I said, "That bear was just interested in our food. It'd be long gone after that commotion." After about a few more minutes, we all calmed down and were sitting by the fire. The mood had changed with our digestion, as it often does, and we were all sitting in quiet contemplation, listening to the crackling fire, and I believe it was the Grateful Dead on a little stereo, when a boulder, not a rock, a boulder, bigger than I could hope to lift with my 6'3", 250-pound body, came flying out of the tree line about where the growl had come from. The boulder was about 1.5 feet by 1 foot and just splashed out of the trees about 12 foot high, then sailed out in front of us silently until it lost momentum and fell the 200 feet straight down the rock face we were sitting on. Crash. It landed down through the Douglas fir tops and clattered along the face. Once again, we jumped up and made as much noise as possible. And once again, I ran the tree line with my light to see who was messing with us. Still not sure what I was experiencing. I wanted to believe it was someone playing a joke. Then the more I thought about it, the noise, the size of that boulder, the height it came out of the trees, who the heck could do that? Not long afterwards, the poor guy got ill from the whiskey and came back to say he was hitting the sack. We all said goodnight. He went to his tent, and that was around a little shrub from the fire, just this side of the tree line. The other tent, the one I was staying in, was just past his end of the tree line. What's going on? Why can't I read this smoothly?
My God.
There would be two to a tent due to lack of room. Only about 10 minutes had passed when I heard him snoring soundly in his tent. My other two friends had seemed to forget about everything that happened. They were laughing and talking about making s'mores. I told them I was going to pass. In fact, I was going to hit the sack myself. That was immediately met with, "No, you can't leave us alone out there." I laughed and said, "I'd be right over there in the tent." My one friend said, "Oh, you worried about him, huh?" I told him I was concerned, and not splitting up was probably the best thing. I went back to where I had looked into the woods, and what made the sound and through the boulder, and again nothing. So I went to my tent and I climbed in and zipped up the fly. My machete was useless for inside the tent, so I pulled out my SOG seal pup, a fixed blade knife, and laid it on my chest, laying on top of my sleeping bag. My feet were toward the area that the activity had been, and by my head was in the tree line. Oh my God, I'm butchering this, aren't I? I tried to still myself and listen intently for any movement in the woods. The sounds of s'more making took over the crackle of the fire, and once again laughter and stories filled the air. Then out of the corner of my ear, I heard a small click in the woods. Okay, noted. Then a full 2 minutes later, and just a bit further, shuffle. Still listening, nothing else. Then a bit further up the tree line, a rustle. A nocturnal squirrel, a mouse in the leaf litter. Still great times being had with s'mores by the fire. Pop. A little closer to the tent, but still very soft noises. This thing is skirting us. It's trying to get behind us. No way. If the tent starts to dip in towards me at all, I'm going to stab this thing. Then, about 20 feet behind my head, the sound of something pushing down a tree. 1, 2, and on the third, it came down and broke a huge root doing so. My heart was pounding in my ears as I strained to hear anything running towards or away from me. The guys at the fire were doing the usual yelling and clamoring, followed by turning the music off and footsteps approaching the tent. "Tom, it's me, man, don't stab me," was my friend's concerned greeting. He knew me well enough, LOL. My friend came in the tent and excitedly asked me if I had heard that. I put my fingers to my lips and said, "It's still right here." He made me promise to let him get to sleep before I did. He said he would never be able to get to sleep if I did it first, LOL. I said, "All right." I laid awake until dawn. No other sounds the rest of the night. The next morning we had breakfast, and I said I wanted to go check out where the tree had been pushed over. The look on the court hung over Guy's face. Tree pushed over? So we recounted the story, but after we passed out, so he was up to speed. He then told us about how when he started to play his music is when he felt like he was being watched and something wanted him to leave. No doubt in my mind that was the message being sent to us all that night. We walked over and quickly found the tree that had been pushed over, about 16 inches around and broken off years before at about 15 feet. The tree was dead and the bark was loose but intact, so no claws or horns had been on that tree or the bark would have shed off of it. It was about 30 degrees to the ground, and the root had been broken, making that loud cracking noise, about 6 inches across. No leaf litter in the root well, so it was definitely the tree had been pushed down. I think it was the music echoing through the river valley that had drawn its attention to us. Definitely was letting us know we were intruding on its space. I went back to that spot another time with no other account. I had to go back to that exact spot. I could be scared out of the mountains I loved forever. I wouldn't let that happen to me. Over the next few years, I continued to frequent the river and camp with plenty of game encounters, but nothing that was out of the usual. Thank you for hearing me out. Sorry this turned into a book, LOL. Merry Christmas to you and your family. This is a while ago, I guess. It's okay, man. Sorry if I butchered it too much. I know what's going on with this read, you guys, and it is because I turned the screen brightness down last night. So I gotta fix that and then I will get back to it. Oh. All right, here we go. We'll listen to this one. Mark this red, that screen brighter, hopefully it'll be smoother listening. Important share. This is titled A Painting of My First Encounter. Steve, I'm being helped greatly by your courage to create such a bold channel for us and the many stories from the People's Around table. I wrote you over a year ago. I told you about my first encounter with the Sasquatch, and you read it on your channel. You do what you say you're going to do. I like your rugged, honest approach, and you, not to mention you're an awesome photographer, one of my passions. I'm an artist and photographer also, and for the most part, I've lived in the country except for the necessary stint I had to do in the Bay Area regarding my careers, one in criminal justice and the other in technology.